Can you hear me back there? Yeah. Okay. I'm here to talk a little bit about Cardinal Newman, St. Newman now. And Alpha Murray put him on the windows there right around 1960, before he was even considered a saint. So he must have had some kind of premonition. But what I'm going to ask you, because you're all students, is what do you think Cardinal Newman has in common with Darren Bolak? Here's Darren Bolak back there. And what does he have in common with Darren Bolak? Now, Cardinal Newman was a classical scholar. Okay? Classical scholar means that he studied the classics in a sense that he knew Latin and Greek. He studied the Greek poets. He studied the Roman poets, the Latin poets. But do you still study the book, The Hounds of Notre Dame? Do you still look at that one? Is that part of your curriculum? Is that part of their curriculum, The Hounds of Notre Dame by Jack Gorman? And in that, you've got two words that always used to kind of get my head spinning. The Trivium and the Quadrivium. Trivium means three, like trio. That's where trio comes from, things like that. And it's three areas of study. And the Quadrivium is 4 areas of study. And the 4 areas of study, before you even went into university, you took these as a student. This is how well educated this man was. In any case, the Quadrivium, he had to study mathematics, he had to study geometry, he had to study music, and he had to study astronomy. So he studied those 4 things because that's what is the training of the mind. If you're going to have a mind that works well, you study those things because it makes your mind work. And so he did that, but he also did the Trivium, which is 3 areas of study. One is public speaking, okay? It's called rhetoric in the traditional way. And the other is grammar, and of course that's how to write well. And the third one is logic, how to think well. So you studied 7 different subjects, the Trivium and Quadrivium. And so what has Darren Bolak got in common with Cardinal Newman? I spoke to his wife. I actually coached with his wife at this university in Regina team. And I said to his wife, I said, Julie is her name, heck of a rugby player. I said, what has Darren got in common? And she said, well, he certainly isn't a saint. I don't think Cardinal Newman drove a motorbike either, or a school bus. I don't think he played rugby. But what he was in training, in a university at a high level, he was a mathematician. So Darren, there's what you have in common with John Henry Newman. John Henry Newman, you might have had it. Have you ever heard the expression, put your John Henry there? No. It means sign here, you're John Henry. I think you have those sort of things. You're John Henry. So Cardinal Newman, John Henry Newman, he's really kind of a famous character. He was born in 1801. Okay? 1801, he died in 1889. He died even before Alpha Murray was born. And here's Alpha Murray putting him up here, almost 70 years later. And so, Napoleon was ravishing Europe. They hadn't even had the Confederation yet. Johnny MacDonald hadn't even established Confederation. And he was living during all these times. They were building the railway across Canada. People, the Western settler folk hadn't even come out west when John Newman was living. So why are they interested in that? Why would Alpha Murray be interested in John Henry Newman? Well, when I looked at it, I hadn't looked at that since university. I had read his book called The Idea of a University. Here's another book he did, Essay on the Development of Christianity, Christian Doctrine. In any case, he's done a lot of books about this thick, 4 or 5 of them, because he was a poet, he was a violinist, he was a writer. They say he wrote so well in English that they compared him to Shakespeare. Now, you all studied Shakespeare? Shakespeare's lasted. Don't give me that scowl. You studied Shakespeare. You don't take Shakespeare anymore?
Shakespeare's a great man.
He is a great man. There he is, there. Okay. So, anyway, he was a great writer. All these things. But to Athol Murray, I think he was a mentor. Okay? To Athol Murray, this Cardinal Newman was a mentor. Before he was really, he was recognized, but before he was a mentor for a couple of reasons. One is he had the thought that ideas really make a difference. That ideas, you have to have ideas, they have to be well articulated, and ideas make a difference. And the key idea that Athol Murray had, or that John Henry Newman had, was that faith and reason, or science and faith, can come together. And you've got, every time you come into this church, you see the doors there. What's on the doors in the church? I'm going to ask you when you come into the door. What do you see on the doors when you come into the church? You know? You know? Did you ever look at the doors? You got to look around. Did you ever look at the doors in the church, the entrance of the church? Yes, here we go. Gold star, just kidding. What is it?
There's an astronaut on the door up there.
An astronaut. And an astronaut, to be an astronaut, you have to be good in math and science. All those things. So science. So he's got this door that shows that you have science, and then the other side of the door, what's on the other side of the door? Cross, okay. What's on the other side of the door? You don't know more than that. It's the whole story of Christianity, from Adam right up to the ascension. So you have that balance between faith and reason every time you come in here. And he said, it's with difficulty, but you have to. That he had this idea that faith and reason would come together. And so he was a mentor. Henry Newman was a mentor, and he mentored a lot of these characters on the windows on this side. Dawson, Carr, Knox, Belloc, and Chesterton. All these scholars out of England, he was a mentor for them. And so he was a mentor for Athol Murray as well. And so he put him on the windows for that particular reason. Do you have a mentor?
My coach.
Your coach is your mentor. Yeah. You all have mentors. You better think about that. You got to have a mentor because you don't really make a success in your life without someone to mentor you. And so he was Athol Murray's mentor. I know when I was a kid, even though you don't know it, I had a lot of good people in my life. But I used to go to Maple Leaf Gardens. I'm from Toronto, so I'd go to Maple Leaf Gardens. And I played defense. So I'd sit on the blues, and I'd look. I'd said the blues was this, and I played defense. And I used to just watch this one defenseman every time the Montreal Canadiens came in to play the Toronto Maple Leafs. I would watch, and I'd watch this defenseman. And I'd just say, how does he play? What does he do? What does he do? And I'd watch how he'd see the ice from the back to the front. And so this particular player, his name was Doug Harvey. He became a mentor for me in one particular way, but I had other people that were mentors as well. In school, I had a Father David Bauer. Father David Bauer's on the wall on this side, and he was actually my coach. You're right, your coach is often your mentor. Right from Bantam. He coached me every level from Bantam right up to playing representing Canada in the Olympics. So he had a mentor. So Athol Murray had a mentor, and he was John Henry Newman. He mentored all these people here, and he started a university. So the second thing he did, besides an idea, he started a university. If you're going to be educated, you have to have a couple of things that really work for you. You have to be able to think well, speak well, and write well. Everything is based on that. And so Athol Murray, when he started his college, his mentor here said, if you're going to have a college, he wrote a book called The Idea of a University. You have to really work at those things, think well, speak well, and write well. And so this is what Athol Murray did. Faith and reason, learn how to really develop yourself, speaking well, thinking well, and writing well. But this isn't what made Henry Newman a saint. What made him a saint was that he had some characteristics that Athelmurray really enjoyed. He was articulate, which I just explained. He really could express himself. You know, if you're compared to Shakespeare, you've got to be able to express yourself in English. But he was courageous, absolutely, totally courageous. He was a convert. He was Anglican. He was in the Anglican. He was a priest in the Anglican faith, and he taught at Oxford. It's a big deal to teach at Oxford. You ever heard of Oxford? Hey, it is a big deal to teach. So he taught at Oxford. He gave it all up. Okay? And so he had to be courageous to do that. And he lived in a little shack. So he had all this esteem in England and gave it all up and lived in a shack because his conscience said that he should move in another direction, which is what he did. So that takes a courageous person to do that. And in a sense, Athelmurray did that as a young man. He had a chance to be a prominent man in Toronto, came out west here, started a little school here in Wilcox, Saskatchewan. So he was courageous. But the third thing that was really important about him, and I noticed you have it on the Latin on the window, cor ad cor loquitur. That means heart speaks to heart. And that was his motto. So here was this giant intellectual, but he had a great capacity for friendship. Heart speaks to heart. Even though he had all these enemies within the church and outside of the church in England, he still kept in contact with them. He wrote them letters. He stayed friends with them. These people were friends from life. He stayed friends with them. He had a great capacity for friendship. And so, if you can manage those things as young people, if you can become articulate, okay, if you can become courageous, and you can have a great capacity for friendship, you're going to meet what Athelmurray used to have as his criteria for coming to Notre Dame. Do you want to make something of your life? Do you want to make something of your life? Yes. Do you want to make something of your life? You always ask yourself that question. Well, the key thing is to learn to be articulate, to be courageous for the principles you stand for, wherever your background is, and have a great capacity for friendship. And that was why he is now here as a saint. There he is, St. John Henry Newman. And so that's Henry Newman in a nutshell, and I'm going to leave it there. When you go to university, if you go to university, this is the prep school, they have Newman clubs. This is how famous this man was. They have Newman clubs all throughout the university. It's tough. You come here. I've had this with graduates here. How many are graduating this year? Like this is a small community here. You really have close ties. When you go to university, you join a place that has 50,000 students. So you got to find ways to get to little communities. One little community is the Newman Club. Look it up. Learn a little bit more about this man that was really despised in England and then was acclaimed by the time he died. And now he's been raised to the rank of a saint. So that's John Newman in a nutshell. Thanks for having me.